Ouch, what was that?
I don't know, but it was my phone, and I'm sorry.
Wow. I can't hear. Thank you for joining us again. I'm Melody Cedarstrom. I think that's where I was at, and today is the 10th of March, 2010, and it is Wednesday, and we're live here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And again, thank you for listening to the program today. If you would like to send us questions today, send them to discountgoldandsilver@yahoo.com. That is discountgoldandsilver@yahoo.com. And you can send your questions there. And folks, I know this program is replayed throughout the day, many, many different hours throughout the day. In fact, this program actually gets played, I think, about 6 times. So if you're listening on those times and you'd like to send us a question, please do. discountgoldandsilver@yahoo.com, and I can go ahead and tag it, and we can address it on the live show, and you can tune in and get your question answered. Discountgoldandsilver@yahoo.com. Give us a call for all your gold and silver coin needs. 800-375-4188 is our telephone number here at Discount Gold and Silver. 1-800-375-4188. And I'm scratching my head over gold. Can't figure out what happened to it today. As Bob mentioned prior to the music ending, no one else does either. So, other than our normal knowledge of what really does happen. We have gold down $14.80 today. $14.80 at 11:08. We have silver down 32 pennies at $16.99. We have platinum down $1 at $15.99, and we have palladium down 5 at $4.67. Now, it was a very strange day because it was all over the place all day long. It was up, down, big swings all day long. It just didn't go into a mode, go to a price and settle like you see gold do lots of times. We have Robert Chapman joining us this afternoon from the International Forecaster. Good afternoon, Bob.
Good afternoon, Melody. It's nice to hear from you again.
And it's really nice to have you here also.
Well, thank you very much.
6
and you're
years.
Right. We had a schizophrenic market today.
Yeah, very bizarre.
Run by a bunch of evil sociopaths. When you see that kind of action, you know the government's in there. I looked up at the screen when I was doing a program this morning. Gold's up 580. I took my eyes off it.
Yep.
Probably for 3 minutes. It was minus 480. I just, it's incredible. What they're using is the derivatives market. And that's, how they're affecting it. And derivatives traders who write derivatives will go in and fix a position against them very often. Some of them run naked, but most of them have a position for protection. And, they don't much care where it's executed as long as it gets off doing one side after you've done another. But that's the kind of action we're getting in here. But that's okay. It's going to go up and just give us a better opportunity to buy. And, that particular mode of thought has proved to be very profitable because we've had a long-term bull market and we're going to continue to. I mean, these things that are going on out there are dreadful. And you mentioned the statistics here this morning that came out on the balance of trade.
The budget deficit.
Budget deficit, excuse me. Do you have them in front of you?
I will in 2 seconds. You had the February's deficit totaled almost $221 billion, 14% higher than the previous record set in February of last year. The deficit through the first 5 months of this budget year totaled $651.6 billion, and that is also 10.5% higher than a year ago.
Well, I've been doing a number of programs throughout the country for the last week or so. So I've done about maybe a dozen, maybe 15. And they're usually short programs, although one or two of them ran an hour. Most of them are half-hour programs. But they're on very often on mainline radio, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. And I've been talking about the national debt and also about the budget, the deficit for the administration for the year. I've written about this in the International Forecaster as well. But the figures just keep on changing. You got to keep on talking about it. Now, we have the new figure that came out this morning. That new figure was government. The administration thinks that they're looking at a budget deficit as of September 30th of this year, end of fiscal year, of $1.6 trillion. We had projected 1.8 to 2 trillion. But there's no way of knowing until you get there, but it's going to be higher than the previous estimate of 1.35 trillion. Now, on top of that, the president's budget would supposedly add 9.7 trillion to the national debt over the next 10 years. And the Congressional Budget Office, which is nonpartisan, painted a somewhat gloomier prediction than what the White House did. And they said they would be 8.5 trillion by 2020, which is like 10 years away. And the deficit projected by the Congressional Budget Office for this year is 1.5 trillion. Now, 1.5 trillion, and I gotta frame this for you. Greece is in debt on the edge of bankruptcy, if not bankrupt. Their public debt to GDP, and I got to give it to you in a second, but I want to frame this for you. The Maastricht Treaty was signed about 12 years ago in Holland, in Maastricht. And it said members of the Eurozone would maintain a public debt to GDP of no greater than 3%. And 2.5% was preferable. Greece's public debt to GDP right now is 10.7%. And that of the United States government is 10.4%. So you use your own imagination. The United States is bankrupt. There's no conceivable way that they can pay back the debt, and I'll elaborate that in a minute. I'm just thinking here. The national debt is going to increase 90% from where it's at, minimum, by 2020, which is 10 years away. Now, the interest payments on the debt would increase $800 billion over that period of time. Now, that's based upon today's interest rates. And the Fed rate to the banks is 0.75%, up 0.5%, up 0.25%. I think it's going to go to 1.25% here, which would put it up about 0.75%. That would add about $100 billion to that deficit to that interest payment. So we're looking at a doubling of the interest to be paid from 100 to 200 billion based on interest rates alone. Now, if it went to 5%, which is very possible, then we're talking an increase annually of 640 billion. So that's 740 billion for interest alone